Hello everyone, and welcome to my spoiler review of Spiderman No Way Home. I've been wanting to talk about this movie again for ages, so let's get started. Picking up where the events of the last film left off, the film deals directly with the fallout of Peter Parker being outed as Spider-Man, kicking off the culmination of the trilogy and every previous standalone Spider-Man film to date. One detail I like this brought up in the PS4 game as PS5 remaster was depicting Jameson to the Bugles' shady podcast. It was an amusing joke before, but now there's a catharsis factor. Stark Industries also implicated in the process, already tipping off how this movie will be a big shake of the status quo since Avengers Endgame. Peter is thankfully able to get clear to Trish legally thanks to Matt Murdock, played again by Charlie Cox. I'm looking forward to Daredevil revival. As Matt catches a brick through the window, I shall once again state that I don't really care what the PTC thinks about the brand. However, while Peter and Aunt May are able to move into Happy Hogan's place, there's still the core public opinion, which has sharply divided between supporting and disparaging Spider-Man. Not really a stretch anymore. Moreover, Peter, MJ, and Ned end up getting passed over MIT because of everything that's going on. With few options left, Peter goes to see Dr. Stephen Strange, which also helps set up a sequel to that film as well. But looking forward to that for ages. There's Strange to return the time stone since the events of the Endgame. There's another way to deal with the fallout. A spell that can erase everyone's memory of what happened. However, this goes awry, and due to neither Peter nor Strange thinking clearly, officially marking the inciting incident in the movie. Peter then gets a tip from Flashback at MIT digging a local mixer, and says if he hurries, he can catch her before she flies back to Boston. At that moment, Peter finds her on the bridge to JFK International, and we see the result of the spell firsthand. It's pulled in two of the villains of the Sam Raimi trilogy, Dr. Octopus played by Alfred Molina, and the Green Goblin played by William Dafoe. My jaw dropped in the theater seeing these. I like how these villains interact with Holden's as a character. More on that later. Also, music appears able to pair all those tentacles with their own suit. I like how my phone system picks up other wireless devices and reigns. After Strange and Peter's situation, they determine they need to send them back to their timelines, as Otto has been captured in Norm Warren's city, smashing his old mask and hiding his armor in a purple cloak. Incidentally, this actually comes closest to comic-accurate costume so far, not counting the failed screen test from the first film in 2002. Also, I still for discount Power Rangers how much a Dane D. Hong with bad teeth, at least. The Lizard has also been captured, and I guess before he was given the antidote for his condition in his timeline. I do still love Vice Iphans as Kirk Connors either way. With help from Ned and MJ, Peter whips up a new black and enhanced suit to search for more supervillains, and sure enough, they find him. The Sandman played by Thomas Hayden Church, and Electro played by Jimmy Fox. Very glad I wanted to put up with the discount Edward Nimoy away Dr. Manhattan much longer. The performance is still great, and they did find a way to get more comic-accurate version of the latter, both in looks and personality. Also, visual effects have come so far Spider-Man 3 are able to include Sandman without having Thomas physically present on the set. Similarly in the Feast mission, Peter may try to help Norman. Norman's dialogue is heavily implies that Harry is dead, and Oscorp doesn't exist in the MCU timeline. We'll come back to this later. It actually manifests in another way, too. Strange is able to contain the spell. Terminating the villains will be sent back home once perfected. However, Peter isn't willing to send them back to the universe just to die. As Peter and Strange clash with the spell in the mirror dimension, a highly impressive scene, Peter realizes his trick to the illusion is able to escape by exploiting the Archimedean spiral and taking Strange's sling ring. Peter decides to change their fate by sending them back to their respective timelines. Using tech from the condo, Peter manages to make an antidote for Connors and replace damaged inhibitor chip for Otto. He also devises a means to bleed off the excess power from Dylan and the antidote Norman's condition as well. However, Goblin is still under the influence of the talks from his timeline, launches an attack on the condo. Electro takes the arc reactor and performs in the scene to a great job of showing off the cast range. May is able to give the great power, great responsibility speech to Peter, ends up caught in a crossfire of Norman's attacks. Though in the comic, May usually dies as a natural cause due to her age or is shot depending on the writer. Here, she's mortally wounded by the Green Goblin's pumpkin bomb. This scene also had to be reworded because of the global situation, but I actually think this version works better than initially scripted. Her tombstone's epitaph is another element from the Insomniac game, reading, "When you help someone, you help everyone." Strange as Rain would get much needed help from the worst kept secret of the movie, both previous theatrical live-action Spider-Man performers, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. The latter's case a bit with the bread toss scene was in the script but improvised on the set by the actors. On that note, the rooftop scene captures the best elements of all three versions of these characters as they recount the experiences that led them here. The emotion expressed by these actors is completely real. Toby, Andrew, and Tom confirmed it. I've mentioned this before, but especially best mentioned again here. Spider-Man presents who we want to be as people, but Peter Parker presents who we really are. Three versions of Spider-Man make plans fish where they started, following the villain's Statue of Liberty at Ellis Island. There's even a nod to the point themselves meme from the 1960s cartoon. Also, I never pass up a chance to mention this, but Michael Giacchino does a fantastic job with the music in this film. After some banter poking fun at less well-received aspects of their respective timelines, the final battle begins. It's easily the most spectacular Spider-Man finale in years. Though it gets off to a shaky start, the three do start to come together against remaining villains. It also makes sense neither Maguire nor Garfield have heard of the Avengers in their universes. Still a pipe dream in 2002, and they were still technically rivals in 2012. Norman tries to get MJ, but Amazing Peter has learned his mistake, much as he did in the comics, where instead of using his webs, he dove for MJ himself to help to slow down her fall. We also get a more comic-accurate Electro, before they finish bleeding off the excess power, another hint of Lyrics Miles Morales. My first choice to play him is Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things. Connors is given the antidote for his condition as Raimi Peter is able to talk the same man down, convincing him about wanting to see his ill daughter again. Strange also returns from the mirror dimension, reclaiming his reign from Ned. Norman tries to go with the MCU Peter and finishing him off, but he doses him with the antidote instead. As the sky cracks open, Strange and Peter realize only one option left. The spell that started it all. It will erase the world's memory of who he is and send the other heroes and villains back to the universes. Despite difficulty and risk involved, Peter says goodbyes to MJ and Ned, while Strange attempts the spell one last time. The spell succeeds this time, and even though Peter knows the truth, he decides to leave Hogan. Ned and MJ start life anew, with a new apartment and suit swinging off into the night. The credits roll a De La Soul's 3 Magic Number, a great song with a great Schoolhouse Rock sample. The first stinger contains a bit from Tom Hardy's Venom, even behind part of his symbiote. I am very interested in the third Venom villain and a potential crossover. Speaking of which, the second stinger says of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I look forward to talking about that very soon. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the very first Spider-Man film and the 60th anniversary of the character's appearance in Amazing Fantasy number 15. The fact that the film features all three major live-action continuities to date, using their best elements and poking fun less well-received ones, really helps show what impact he's had. Whatever happens in the next movie will likely be very different, but I'm excited to see what that entails either way. The film was of course highly acclaimed and gave theatrical release in which he had shot the arm as the biggest film in 2021, making over $804 million worldwide in the US and over $1.8 billion worldwide. It's easily the biggest standalone Spider-Man movie to date, and easily my favorite one since Spider-Man 2 in 2004. It was always going to do well, but I don't think anyone expected to do Avengers level numbers given the circumstances. Whatever the future holds, I know I can enjoy this for the years to come. Thank you for letting me share my thoughts with you. Take care, everyone.